Why do some people experience in their lifetimes more challenging relationships than others? Why are some of us over prolonged periods single while others tend to jump from relationship to relationship? In this video, I'd like to share with you why we are in times where we are ending karmic relationships and moving into what we call conscious coupling. Intimate relationships are the place where we experience not just our biggest hurts, but also our largest soul evolution. And some of the wounds that stem from difficult partnerships are wounds of abandonment, rejection, and unrequited love. Especially in the spiritual scene, we tend to divide those partnerships between karmic, soulmates, and twin flames. While all of those three carry very different vibrational levels and purposes within them, one thing they all have in common: they're all karmic. What we usually call a karmic relationship is one that is sexually very charged, very intense, where there are a lot of difficulties, a lot of off and ons, where people bond through their wounds, their trauma, and repetitive patterns. But the reason why I say that all of those types of relationships are karmic is because they stem from previous lifetimes. Nobody that we meet and that play an important role for us in this life, we have met for the first time, because souls recognize each other. They recognize the work that they have to do together in order for us to reach our soul's highest evolution. People often tend to put themselves in a downward facing spiral because they compare themselves and their difficult relationship challenges to others who seemingly are very lucky in that regard in their lives. But we need to understand that we are all born with different karmic challenges that we are here to work through, to overcome. Each of our souls is on a different evolutionary level. So that doesn't mean someone is better or someone is more lucky than the other. It simply is all a spiritual journey. One of the major reasons why I say that we are moving from karmic relationships into conscious coupling is that we are shifting from the Age of Pisces into the Age of Aquarius. And in the Age of Aquarius, it's all about our soul's liberation from karmic ties, from karmic patterns that stem from eons of lifetimes. All the witch hunts that we have experienced, going back to the biblical story of Adam and Lilith, Adam and Eve, are not just stories that are embedded in a past history, but they are also stories that we carry within ourselves as a collective through our cellular memory. And the most challenging relationships that we experience are those that are clearing out those old timelines. Nothing that happens in the past, whether collectively or individually, is just poof, gone in history, but it has to be worked through, as it is energy. Karma is nothing else but energetic patterns that vibrate on a certain frequency and need to be cleared out in order to reach balance and harmony. Believe it or not, but one of the eras that is still collectively very strongly affecting our behavior with one another today and the karma that we are playing out is going back to the witch hunts. The witch hunts that in particularly very strongly happened in medieval Europe between the 15th and 18th centuries were a time where thousands of citizens were persecuted for the crime of witchcraft, with most of the accused being women and nearly half of them being murdered as a result of their apparently so scary abilities. I chose the era of the witch hunts in particular because it's obvious not just in intimate relationships between couples, but especially between women. Women have a very hard time trusting one another. There is so much mistrust, jealousy, competition and comparison, in particular amongst women. And that goes back to this time because women were exposing one another in order to survive. And this is still encoded in our cellular memory unless we start consciously working through it. And if we look at relationships between men and women, well, you can guess how the relationship of a prosecutor and aka a victim is supposed to look like. A lot of the women back then incarnated now also as men, and a lot of the men who were prosecutors incarnated in this life as women. Now you can see why the dissolving of those karmic imprints are so strongly connected to our relationships, because our intimate relationships in particular aren't just a place where our highest soul's evolution takes place, but also the one where most of the damage is done. And that's why the work in that area is one that can simply not be replaced. While challenging relationships, no doubt, can truly hurt and leave in us a feeling of resentment and unfairness, we need to look at it from a higher perspective. We need to observe our pattern, whether there is a common dominator throughout our relationships, what role we are playing in that, what natural predisposition we have, whether that is possessiveness or jealousy, and also understand the root cause as to where it really comes from. The moment we are dissolving those karmic patterns and we really rise into higher levels of consciousness, we will not just recognize the shift and the change in our own energy and being, but also in our environment, because suddenly we are going to call in very, very different caliber of partners, where we are vibrating on a very different frequency together.